Summer has arrived in Oak Valley, Tennessee, and the summer vacation has just started, and all the kids in town are have been longing for the summer vacation so much so they want to do anything as from swimming, fishing, and anything else fun. Oak Valley is a small town surrounded by deep forests and a large lake named Lake Sapphire. The town is known for its oak forest and its beautiful nature and Lake Sapphire. But Oak Valley is also known to be home to a tunnel. According to a local legend, is haunted. The tunnel was built in 1820 as a tunnel for the railroad and was operational until it was closed in 1850. Oak Valley has seen in events during the Civil War, and a lightened history group of Union soldiers were killed by the Confederate soldier troop in the tunnel, which led it to be haunted. Many people come to Oak Valley to enjoy its beautiful nature and also to visit this ghost tunnel to experience their own experience of the soldier ghost. In Oak Valley, lives a young man by the name Brandon, who had just finished college and had just returned home to his hometown. One day, Brandon is sitting with his best friend Roy playing video games. You think you can beat me in the race? I sure will, said Brandon. You don't stand a chance against me. Shall shall be a bit of bet on it? $10 if I beat you. Prepare to pay me, said Brandon. Roy and Brandon tried their best to win the race, and in the end, Brandon managed to win the racing game. I told you I would win against you. Typical, but it was fun, said Roy. Yes, and now pay out the bet. Roy took out his wallet and gave Brandon the money that he did bet on. Shall we play some more? Asked Brandon. No thanks, I have enough since we are playing for this game for almost 2 hours. You're probably right, we can do something else since the weather is nice. We can do that, said Roy. They both left Brandon's home and went downtown to see what else they could find to do. Once downtown, they met Mary, who is Brandon's girlfriend. Hey, hey Mary, are you busy? Hey Brandon, I'm on my break for right now. Mary works in a diner in town. She and Brandon have been together since their sophomore year in high school. Do you have any plans for the rest of the day? No, I don't have any plans. Do you have anything special in mind? Asked Mary. If you might want to come over to watch a movie, I'd love to. I will come over after I finish my shift. See you later then. Brandon gave Mary a kiss, and he and Roy moved on, and they went to the cafe to get something to eat. You're lucky to have a girlfriend like Mary, said Roy. Yeah, I'm a little happy to. She's a great girl. My girlfriend is beautiful as Mary. Brandon says she really is. Both were sat talking and had a sandwich when Brandon's phone started ringing in his pocket. Wondering who's going to be calling me now. Hello? This is Brandon. Who am I talking to? Hey Mom, I am with Roy at Oak Cafe. Do you want to say anything special? Brandon's mom called him to tell him that his younger cousin Brad is coming to Oak Valley tomorrow, so if he could meet him at the train station at lunch. Sure, I can meet him by tomorrow, no problem. Okay, see you later tonight, Mom. Brandon ended the call and Roy looked at him. What did your mom want? She wants to tell me that my younger cousin Brad is coming tomorrow if I can meet him by the train station. I haven't seen him in a while. Neither have I, since his family lives in Oregon. It is a long way from Oak Valley, but it will be fun to see him again. Because he's a fun guy to hang out with, said Roy. Maybe we can hang out with like as normal. I think probably can do that. Brandon nodded and both enjoyed the sandwich. Afterwards, Roy had to go home to take care of some things. Brandon chose to go home himself because Mary would come over later and watch the movie down. Later that evening, Mary arrived at Brandon's home and he was happy to see her again. While she was waiting on the seat on the couch, Brandon went to fix popcorn and drinks for her. Afterwards, they chose to watch a horror movie since both Mary and Brandon were fans of horror movies. Brandon told Mary that his cousin is coming over tomorrow. It will be fun because he's a nice guy. It's definitely going to be a fun to see with him again. Both were sitting close to each other watching the horror movie. A little later at 10 p.m., Mary's mom came over to pick her up. Mary gave Brandon a kiss and they said goodnight to each other. Brandon stayed up about around midnight reading a book before falling asleep. The next day, Brandon went to the train station as promised he would, and he was there a few minutes earlier. When the train arrived, he saw Brandon get off. Brad, I'm over here. Hey cousin, it has been a while. It has been a while since we last saw each other, said Brandon. Brandon and Brad gave each other a hug. Brad is 20 years old and is 3 years younger than Brandon. Brandon saw Brad as a brother. They went to his car and went home. How was the train ride, though? It was calm and quiet as usual, said Brad. That's good to hear. You must be hungry. I'm hungry as a wolf. We can order pizza if you want. That's a good idea, said Brad. Back home, Brandon took Brad to the guest room, and after he had unpacked his clothes, Brandon called and ordered pizza for them. After that, they sat in the kitchen and while talking, how is things between you and Mary? It's good between us. How about you and your girlfriend? She broke up with me a while ago. That's sad to hear. You can say that when I found out she was been cheating on me with another guy. That's really sad to hear. But you will find out the girl. I hope so, said Brad. After the finishing, they went to the living room to play some video games. They played for a couple of hours as they called Roy to come over. Roy asked if it was okay if he can come over, and Brad said it was okay. So a little later, Roy showed up. He and play against Brad while Brandon was watching, since he only had two consoles. After a while, they got tired of playing the games. What do you want to do now? I have no idea, said Roy. I have no idea what we can do either. How about go swimming in the lake? Said Brad. We can do that instead of hot day, says Brandon. Brad, good. We'll go there. I'm just gonna get home to get my things first, said Roy. We will wait by the car for you. Roy left the house and ran home. Since he literally lived across the street from Brandon, he came back after a little bit later, and they went all the way to the beach, and there were already some people there swimming or sunbathing. You guys have a good beach here. We certainly have. The last one in the water is a rotten egg, called out Brad. They all rushed in the water. Roy was first, and right after him. They had a fun in the lake though, swimming around, just enjoying the nice weather. They were floating around in the water because it was just a nice day. So, how long are you going to be here, Brad? Asked Roy. I will be here for 3 weeks. Then we have enough time to hang out as much as we can. It can be trusted that we have, as long as it doesn't rain most of the time. They both started laughing and all floated around in the water for a while until it was time to get home again. The next day, Brad was with Brandon in town to work on things out, and lunch, they chose to have lunch at Mary's work. She was happy to see Brad. Brandon had told about his girlfriend dumping him and cheating on him. She was sorry to hear that it happened, but agreed with Brandon that Brad will find someone else. What you like to order, you two, for lunch? I will have cheeseburger with fries and a coke, said Brad. I'll take the same. It will be come out soon. Mary left them and they started talking a little bit. Do you have any plans for us today? Asked Brad. No, I don't have any immediate plans. Maybe we can go to the woods and enjoy the nature a little bit when we're younger. We can do that. Soon after lunch, they arrived. They sit down and enjoy the food. Afterwards, they're finished. They gave Mary a good tip for her service. Then they gave good. Then they took Brandon's car to the edge of the town to walk in a nature trail that went through in the woods. Once there, Brand looked around and saw something. Everything looked like the same as the last time we were there. They walked around and along the path, and a little once they talked, listened to the birds in the forest, and then they saw something in the distance. Wait, is it that the ghost tunnel? Asked Brad. Brad pointed to something in the distance between some trees, and Brandon looks towards where his castle was pointing. Yeah, it's a famous ghost tunnel, said Brandon. Can we go there to have a look? Sure, we can go there. They walked over and stopped just shortly from the opening and saw the old train tracks still on the ground. Do you know anything about the ghosts in the tunnel? Just what I heard, that was a group of Union soldiers who took cover here when they were attacked by the Confederate soldiers, and that's all I know. Have you seen or heard anything here? Brand shook his head because he's never been near a tunnel at late night because it was nothing he wanted to do. What about you say if we went here one night to find out it's really haunted? I don't know about that, Brad, said Brandon. Come on, it would be interesting. Brandon doubt seemed doubtful, but his cousin wanted it so badly to go to prove that ghosts was really existed. Okay, can go here on Friday night. Maybe we can bring Roy and Mary with us if they want. We can always ask them, but let's move on now. Okay, I will. Brandon took one last look at the tunnel and followed his cousin, and later, at Brandon's house, they were watching TV. Have you asked Roy if he's up for idea? Yeah, I have asked him, and he's on board. And Mary's also coming with us too. Good, it will be fun. I hope we can hope so, especially if the weather is not too bad. Let's hope for now it doesn't, said Brad. When Friday came, Brad was so eager to go to the tunnel to see if it was really haunted. He had made a list of what they should bring. They had to bring flashlights, a tape recorder, so they could see if they could record any ghost voices. At 10 p.m., they left Brandon's house and picked up Roy and later Mary and went on to the woods. To the woods. Do you think we will ever hear anything in the tunnel? Asked Mary. I hope so, said Brad. I don't know if I believe the stories about ghosts in the tunnel, said Roy. I think there are spirits there, said Brandon. I know there are something there, said Brad. Soon they arrived at the woods and they walked through the forest slowly by using their flashlights to see where they were going in the dark. Soon they arrived at the tunnel and they agreed the tunnel was scarier in the dark. Do you have the tape recorder, Brandon? I got it in my pocket, said Brandon. Brandon took out the tape recorder and they handed it over to Brad, and the old friend will be further into the tunnel and start looking around. Soldiers, if you're here with us, please give us a sign that you are here. We just want to know if you're here, said Mary. Both Roy and Brandon stood in silence as Brad and Mary continued to ask a few questions, standing in silence to hear any answers or sign of the ghost. But after half an hour, with no answers or no signs, Brandon thought maybe it was time to get the head back home. I think it is probably time to go home. Please, Brandon, can't we just stay a little bit longer? Asked Brad. We can stay until 11 p.m., but no longer. Okay? It might give us enough time, said Brad. Brad and Mary continued, but so far, no answers. And they also listened to the tape recorder to see if they had picked up any ghost voices. But it hadn't. But when it was 11 p.m., it was time for them to go, just as Brandon turned around and he stopped. George Johnson. Brandon looked around to see what was making the noise, but he didn't see anything, despite his flashlight. He then followed the others back to the car, and the very next day, Roy, Brad, and Brandon and Mary was sitting at with Brandon's home. They were talking about the last night's visit. It's a shame we couldn't record anything. Maybe we can try to tonight. Again, said Barry. That sounds like a good idea. What do you think, Brandon? Brandon sat quietly thinking, and he had heard conversation. Brandon, are you okay? Brandon flinched, and when Brad spoke to him and looked at his cousin, well, I'm fine, sorry, I was just sitting in there thinking. What do you say? Mary thinks if we should go back to the tunnel tonight again to try. Are you sure about that? Asked Brandon. Yes, I want to try it again. Can't you come with us? I probably stay home tonight. Come on, Brandon. It will be gonna be fun, said Brad. Unfortunately, you have to go there with yourself tonight. Okay, but what about you, Roy? Would you go with us? Sure, I can come with you guys, said Roy. That night, they took Mary's car while Brandon stayed home and he sat in his room. Instead of thinking about what he heard in the tunnel that night before, he knows they heard a name in the tunnel. I probably ask Peter tomorrow. He might know something. Peter is the Oak Valley's local historian. He knows most of the town's history. That very night, when Brad came out home again, Brandon asked him if he had recorded anything, but Brad replied that he hadn't. The very next day, Brandon went to the museum to talk to Peter while Brad stayed home to play games. Hey, Peter. Hey, Brandon. How can I help you with? Well, me and Roy, Mary, and my cousin Brad were at the close tunnel that night because my cousin wanted to see if it was actually connected to soldiers who died there. I can understand that. Many people go there, but not everyone succeeds. Did you get any answers? No, we didn't get any answers, but I heard something before we left and I didn't see anything. What did you hear in the tunnel? One name, George Wash Johnson. George Johnson. Peter looked at Brandon and he saw him walked away but came back with a book. This book contains information about Oak Valley from the time before the war and during the Civil War. Let's look in it. It's worth a try, worth a try. I looked through the book and read for the construction of the tunnel and the pages about the town's time during the Civil War, until they came to the page that mentioned about the soldiers who died there. There was a picture of the soldiers and the names, and one of the names Brandon immediately recognized. George T. Johnson was the name I heard the name in the tunnel. George T. Johnson was a major in the Union Army, and he was from Oak Valley. I had no idea about it. Wondering why I heard the name. I had no idea, but we know that he was one of the soldiers who died there. Thanks for help, Peter. It was a pleasure to helping you. Brandon went home and found that Brad wasn't there. Hey, Mom, where's Brad? He went out for a while to get some fresh air. Okay? Where have you been, Brandon? She asked. I went to the museum to talk to Peter about something. What was you talking about? I told him that me, Mary, Roy, Brad were at the ghost tunnel since Brad wanted to see if there was any spirits there. I guess I didn't hear anything. No, they didn't hear anything, but I heard a name in the tunnel. Peter showed me a book and the name was in it, and it was a Union soldier. What's the name? She asked. The name was George T. Johnson. Brandon's mother fell silent, and Brandon looked at her with a little surprised look. Mom, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, but there's something you should know. What is it, Mom? George T. Johnson was your great grandfather. Brandon was completely stunned by the news that his mother just told him. That George T. Johnson was his great grandfather who died in a tunnel. How come then nobody told me about that? You never asked about it. His mom said. You're probably right, but it's sad that he was one of the ghosts at the tunnel who hasn't been able to move on. Yet it's very sad, said his mom. Brandon then went to his room, lay on the bed, thinking about what his mom just told him. He couldn't believe that one of the soldiers who died in tunnel was his own ancestor, but he felt a sense of relief that, but at the same time saddened that his ancestor hasn't been able to pass on to the afterlife. He decided to head out there tonight to make contact with his ancestor, and maybe help him to move on. That night, parents had made plans to go bowling, and Brad wanted to go with them. Do you want to go bowling with us, Brandon? His mom asked. No, I'd probably stay home. Come on, Brandon, we're gonna be fun, said Brad. Thanks for the invitation, but I choose to stay home. Okay, maybe another night. Yeah, but have fun though. After his parents had left with Brad around 5 p.m., Brandon chose to wait before heading out the ghost tunnel. At 5:15 p.m., he left the house, went through the forest. When he was there, he went straight to the tunnel. He entered the tunnel and he didn't know at first what to say to his ancestor. George T. Johnson, if you can hear me, my name is Brandon Johnson. I'm your great 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 grandson. I came here to tell you that your family survived the Civil War and that the Union won the war because, in case you weren't aware. I know you've been my ancestor, but I just want to come here to tell you and hope that comfort that your family was fine after the war and you can pass on to your family on the other side. Brandon stood quiet for a moment, listening to see if he heard anything, but nothing. I just want to let you know, because you deserve to go on to the other side and see your family again. I'm proud to be your great 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 grandson. Brandon felt a cold breeze near him. He looked around. At first he saw nothing, until he saw that something he didn't expect. He saw a spirit standing some distance from him, and he immediately saw it was George T. Johnson. I just want to come here and help you, George. Thank you. I'm very appreciative, and on behalf of my comrades, they are going to rest in peace, knowing we won the war. Thanks again, my grandson. George T. Johnson paid a tribute as by salute and slowly disappeared, and the tunnel no longer felt cold. Brandon stood there smiling, and he knew that he had helped his ancestor and the other soldiers. But now he realized that no one can go experience the ghosts in tunnels, so he chose not to tell anyone, but only Roy, Mary, and Brad, if they promise not to tell anyone else. He went back to his car and went home, feeling happy that his ancestor could now rest in peace. Later, he had told Roy, Mary, and Brad, and they were somewhat upset that he had told them. But when he told them what one of the soldiers was his ancestor, and that he just wanted to help them to move on, and they forgave him. But he promised not to reveal to anyone that the ghosts were now gone from the tunnel. A couple of weeks later, Brad went back home to Oregon, but he thanked Brandon for his time in Oak Valley in hopes that they could see each other soon again. Brandon had told them next time maybe he and Mary could come to see Brad in his hometown instead, which Brad told them that they're always welcome there. If you're going to visit Oak Valley, Tennessee, you should take the opportunity to visit their beautiful oak forest, fish, or sail in the Lake Sapphire. But if you wanted to make your own attempt to contact the spirits in the ghost tunnel of Oak Valley, you can go there in the evenings. The end.